let's say I'm your MSP and you're my client. I'm not managing your AI. I have no visibility into your AI. I don't know anything about any of it. So who's doing it? And the answer is nobody. Nobody's paying attention. And you always say, when nobody's looking, there's trouble at cooking.
Help me with hip hop. Let's get it right. Protect your patience. Day and night. Donna and David, the experts on your side. Help me with hip hop. Let's get it right.
So just when you thought we would not talk about AI anymore, we're going to talk about AI. Everybody out there talks about the good side of AI and how helpful it is and all the positive things you can do with it. And I do not for a second believe that they're wrong. There's a lot of great stuff you can do, but not a lot of people are telling you about when it's not helpful and how harmful it can be and what kind of problems it can cause. Now, you might know some of the things like the craziness that happens when individuals are using it, but let's talk about how they're sprinkling this stuff all in your organization, and even when you don't know it's there, and the kind of problems that cause.
Yeah. And I think the big issue is how much you don't know. You don't know what you don't know.
Yep.
AI is just exacerbating what was already there.
Oh, you just trying to use them $5 words.
Yes.
Well, it wasn't that long ago that AI was more experimental and isolated to certain things, but now it's being embedded in vendor platforms. We're hearing about and seeing it's embedded in EHRs, scary in and of itself. It's embedded in analytics platforms and tools and operating systems, and it's only going to get more embedded. There's in maybe even this year, I could probably say that there is no chance that everybody won't be using some type of AI, directly or indirectly. You can't get away from it. If you're connected to the internet using typical applications, you have AI somewhere.
Yes. And the more people put off spending time understanding that, the worse it will be for them when they realize it, how shocked they are going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's venturing into every part.
So you looked at a CISO's reporting. It's a vendor AI and EHR systems, and they did a report. It's pretty interesting because this was not just a U.S. thing. This was across 9 different countries. They looked at it, and there were some interesting things that you pulled out of this.
Well, I mean, the big point is, and this came from Jim, who's on my AI subgroup, task group, so it was very helpful. The article talks about a study, a CISO's report, that they evaluated 9 different countries, discussing with CISOs what they were worried about as far as primary drivers of healthcare data risk. And 9 countries, they all across the board say that 80%, in fact, say the greatest emerging cyber risk in 2026 comes directly from the EHR, the AI, and all the cloud health IT vendors. Not from anything else. These are all of these interconnected things that are working together. And they expect that if had one or a near miss in the last 24 months, that's 69% directly related to these things. And then 91% say their current third-party risk management practices are, quote, not adequate or barely adequate for the complexity that all of this is bringing to the table. And that alone, you know, that got my attention. It's like, thinking about them all connected and how this AI, people are turning this stuff on and don't know it, or they do know it and they're not treating it like, they treat it like, oh, we're just going to turn on this new feature. Ooh, click, now I can do this. And they used to do that to turn on a feature. You're introducing entire new technology.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. There's some of the systems that I have that turning the AI on is literally flipping a switch. That's it.
Mhm.
It's a toggle, and that's all you have to do.
Yeah.
You know, I wonder though, because you mentioned here in this thing that the problem is not coming from the on-premise systems, but the cloud. I've often wondered, will we hit a time where people start migrating away from cloud back to on-premise? Because we've been pushing away from on-prem to cloud for a long time now. And in a lot of ways, it's better. But I do wonder, is this going to cause a conversation to come up about what can we put back on-prem and let's remove it from the cloud?
Well, until AI, that had not been as big of an issue, but AI is bringing a massive reason to discuss that, of the control
Yeah.
of the data and what is the model allowed to use to make decisions. And there's pros and cons to that, particularly in healthcare. When you look at AI, the diagnostic parts of it, which there's a whole nother episode we could do on this study that MIT did of how it their findings said that it could start to memorize things, even though you had a huge group of patients from all over different places. That's the value of what they're doing, training the EHRs. But then on the flip side of that, that means, is it going to learn about people that aren't even in my patient database, that it won't even be in my community? I would never see that. And is that going to increase or decrease my ability? So there's so many variables. And if you only want to learn about your own patients, then you're leaving out stuff. So it gets crazy when you think about it. And yeah. You're right. It's going to be part of the debate. I mean, you and I just discussed having our own.
Yeah. I mean, there are certain AI tools that you can run locally, or you can run it on your own cloud server. So it's still cloud-based. It's just not tied into the bigger ecosystem. And there, again, like you said, there's pros and cons of that. You have maybe you've removed the risk, that the fact that this bigger vendor is a bigger target than you are, but also they probably are better equipped to secure, monitor, and manage the platform than you are. So
and
you might be less
problems.
of a target. Yeah. So you're less of a target, but you're an easier target.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you know, that was one of the points that they said, is like, where is that line? And that gets into the risk management piece of it. And this study was done by Black Book Research, by the way. And Douglas Brown, the president, was interviewed for this article. And he said, in every region we studied, the pattern is the same. Vendor failures are turning into operational crises at the bedside. And said, you can have a strong internal security program and still see clinics shut down or oncology pathways disrupted because of a partner's platform compromised or offline.
Oh, yeah.
And so his study, they said that the CISOs are clear. This is not an IT problem or a single vendor negotiation issue. They are asking boards, regulators, and industry groups to recognize that EHR and AI vendor vulnerability is a top-tier systemic risk to patient safety, continuity of care, and public confidence in health data. Well, that says a lot.
Yeah. And then you throw in the fact that, what was it, last week, that OpenAI and I think Claude both introduced like a healthcare version that's either out or coming.
Yep. And they're not the same.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know, man. They're rushing to get a lot of this out there. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of amazing things you can do with all this. Again, the benefits, we're not arguing it's beneficial. What we're arguing is you have to also take in consideration the risks that it brings and mitigate those risks. Not just say, this tastes good, so let's put it on everything.
Yeah. We know people like that. But the bottom line is it's not optional anymore for you to be understanding that you are implementing new technology left and right without any real control unless you already are putting controls in place. And even those that are putting controls in place are saying these are things that we still don't have our hands around because we keep finding new ways that this opens up and expands our attack surface, as well as not just that an external attacker, but it could bring things down internally, and bad data could get in there in a lot of different ways. And now you've got a whole new list of issues.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that we like to do on the podcast is talk about times where we see these risks happening so that people can then ask the same questions within their own organization. And recently, we just had ServiceNow, which is a large technology company. They had an agentic AI security vulnerability that has been labeled as the most severe AI vulnerability to date. And it's a good idea to understand what this is so you can go back and ask these questions in your own organization.
Mm-hmm. So the platform itself had a problem. I mean, not just, now your platform is now part of your attack surface, and you're in charge of managing a lot of it, because in this case, it allowed, what's the easiest way, but people could authenticate to use it internally. But the thing was, it didn't prevent you from having admin authority to log into it, which then gave the agent behind it, which is going off and doing things on its own, complete admin authority. It was crazy.
Yep. Yeah. And this is a big problem that we're starting to see, where you have these AI agents or platforms that are connected through APIs and other things. I have it. And I know a lot of other people that do it, because you're like, just as an example, let's connect ChatGPT to Microsoft Outlook or the Microsoft account in total so that we can have, ChatGPT can look at our emails and it can read the email and it can respond or create a draft or move it to another folder, all these different things you can do with it. But here's the issue is what we're seeing is vulnerabilities where the attacker will send an email to you. The email itself will have instructional code for the AI. And since AI is reading all your email anyway, you don't even know, and you have no way of even stopping this attack from happening, because the code is being read by AI. The AI agent goes, oh, I need to take action on this code. And then it goes, runs off and does stuff. And you don't even know it. You have no idea what it's doing. And it can have persistent access. There's no security out there right now that detects this, that prevents this, and that helps you recover from this. Nothing. There's nothing out there yet.
So think about that, people. Again, it's helpful right up until it's not helpful. Yeah. So I think the best thing is that people need to understand that when you plug in something with AI, you need to consider that you have just now plugged in another person into the mix, and see it as a person, because it does operate differently than other technology. It's not just a machine anymore. You need to treat it. No, I'm not saying it's a robot that's going to take over the world, but you need to treat it like it's another person in the loop as far as managing it and the security of it and who's controlling it and what does it know to do and what does it have the authority to do. Have a plan. That's all I'm saying.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you definitely got to take everything in consideration. This problem's not going to go anywhere. It's certainly going to get worse, because by the time you solve this problem, there's going to be more. So you definitely have to look at those things and take the necessary measures. But to your point about the AI agents, one of the things you can't do, and this is where I start seeing issues, is we're creating these AI agents or workflows or whatever, but then there's nobody that's really keeping an eye on these things. and managing this part and monitoring this part. Because if you come to me, let's say I'm your MSP and you're my client, I'm not managing your AI. I have no visibility into your AI. I don't know anything about any of it. So who's doing it? And the answer is nobody. Nobody's paying attention. And you always say, when nobody's looking, there's trouble at cooking. And that's the thing. You put it in place, it's doing its thing, and then you're like, it's set it and forget it. And it's not. There's nothing in AI around cybersecurity that set it and forget it. It's set it, monitor it, manage it, all that. It is not set it and forget it.
Well, none of the things that we've ever talked about from a cybersecurity perspective has been set it and forget it. So you definitely can't do it when you're adding all these new people into the mix and giving them all kinds of authority.
Yeah. And there's I shouldn't say there's few guide rails around that. And there's even less monitoring and management around that. Like I said, I'm sure we have clients that use AI in ways we don't know, but we have no visibility into any of that. We can find out that they are using it. We have no visibility into how they're using it, what they're connecting it to, what is it doing, what are they doing? We don't know any of that. We have no ability to find that out.
Yeah, I mean, we're updating all of our risk assessments and, adding in all these AI questions instead of some of the simple ones we've been asking. Now we're going to get into detail because we have to. And it's going to be eye-opening. Yeah. And, first we were going to add, let's just add 3 or 4. Well, no, we can't just add. You got to add, I don't know, 13, 14, some ridiculous number. But every time we'd say, we can't add any more, something else would come up. And that's going to continue to happen. But like just this week, 2 separate clients we talked with them about utilizing AI for taking notes for patient encounters. 2 separate scenarios, 2 separate clients, no knowledge of each other's problems. One's doing it for one reason across the board, and the other has one doctor that wants to be on the cutting edge, and that doctor is wanting to turn it on, and they've turned it on for that one doctor. And in at least on the everybody doing it, they're like, we need to change our consent form to figure out how to handle this. And we're like, right. And we've been talking to the other one, and we say, have you changed your consent form? And they're like, no. Probably should, because we did have a patient get upset about it. And I'm like, okay. Ouch. Yeah. And so you need to think this through more than you do other things. Because again, in that scenario, I'm adding another person to the room who is going to have control of the notes that are being taken. And where's that recording going? And where's that data going? Is it part of my EHR? Is it a whole nother vendor that then is going to get plugged into the, how is all of that happening? Have you vetted it? And there's so many questions that we start asking, and you'd be surprised, just the deer in the headlights. No, you wouldn't be surprised. We know. And it's not like they're talking to us, so they're not intending to do it wrong. Mm-hmm. It's just a whole new world.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. And then, you told me before we started today that you've got all these things that are new with AI agents right now, like companies like Anthropic. They've launched tools like Claude Cowork, which is very new. I didn't even know that it was a thing. I've been looking at these other things that's happening, but it lets the AI act like a virtual coworker. It's going to be, reading and organizing, modifying files. One of the articles I read was talking about change management and how are you going to handle change management when AI is literally making dozens of changes a second across your environment? It's going to be, the answer. I'll just create more AI agents to monitor if there's those AI agents.
It's true. We have to learn and figure this out as we go. We don't know where we're going to end up, but we do see where we're going. with this automation capability and the agentic AI. And well, because we did touch on the OpenAI healthcare and Anthropic for healthcare, the two different things, where OpenAI is taking the approach of we're going to put our efforts towards assisting consumers who want to ask questions about healthcare and try to limit, the privacy on it, all of these other things where it goes over to another area, if you will, when you're talking about healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
But that's on the consumer side. Anthropic has said we're going to help with the automation of workflows and assisting on the actual delivery of healthcare side. So they're on the other side of the coin, working with, folks that are actually delivering the care and supporting that care. So when you look at that second part, now you're outside of chatbots that everybody's kind of getting comfortable with, and we can't even get them to understand the damage there that could be done.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to add to it the ability to automatically go out and do things within patient records and a lot of other things. And that's where Cowork came along. People have been playing around with Claude Code for a while. It allows you to, and granted, it's developers and technical folks that are using it, but it lets you write automation, I guess is the best way to simplify. It's quite oversimplified.
Oh, you can write all kind of stuff with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is where it becomes really difficult from the cybersecurity standpoint. Is it lowers the bar for the criminals because they don't have to worry about being able to learn to write code or scripting or all that. You can just go in there and go write this thing. And I'm not saying they have to do it with Claude. There definitely are other platforms out there that don't have the guardrails that criminals have access to.
Right. And now Claude Cowork is actually putting a basic user front end on that so that I can say, monitor my emails, and whenever you see something like this, go over here and do this, and then, pick this thing up and, reorganize my emails, delete anything I can do all of that in just plain English. And then it goes and writes the code for Claude Code and does it in the background and creates these agents that then you just deploy, and then you forget they're there. And you know how I feel about PHI and email. Here is just another reason that I really believe it shouldn't be in there, and you should try to offload some of it. Archive some stuff. You can still come back and get archive stuff. You don't need to keep 20 years worth of email.
Yeah.
It's.
I think one of the issues that we're going to start seeing maybe this year, is certainly next year, is that the kind of going along with Claude Code and some of those things is people are going to start writing applications for themselves to solve very small specific problems within their organization. Mm-hmm. And you'll start seeing more and more software that's created to live and interact in that environment. It's an amazing tool, and I'm excited about creating my own software to solve my own problems. But it brings in yet more risk and more issues that have to be managed.
Yeah, it's like hiring David. Everybody's you just don't know what you're getting into. But yeah, but it's the same thing. So many people will outsource IT and say, well, now I don't have to worry about managing IT. You still have to participate. If David's making recommendations and you don't respond to him at all, you're not participating, and it makes it impossible for him to get it done, right? But you also need to realize you have no idea what you're getting into, and you want to be clear. I don't want to assume that they're doing all these things and then find out later they're not because we weren't speaking the same language. And that happens
Yeah.
all the
Just
time
ask.
with IT. Yeah.
Oh yeah, all the time. Because especially when things get a little segmented, we're all the time we're having conversations about this is the services that you have in these areas. And sometimes people make the bad choice of segmenting this out. As an example, they'll say, can you put email security on these accounts, but not these? Which if that's your business decision you want to make, that's fine. The problem is when something happens a year from now, you're gonna be like, well, I thought we had email security on everything. Like, no, you didn't want it on everything. You only wanted it here. Or I thought we were backing up everything. That's always the funny one for me because I'm like, you're paying $20 a month and you thought you were backing up 100 computers. Like, come on now. Some things should be obvious, but anyway.
That one I wasn't ready for because it's just like, what? How? What? A lot of times, you don't think things through, and that's where we are. It's not the evil empire. We're not talking about that happening, but it can be evil if you're not paying attention. And there's a lot of things happening all at once in your systems. And, people are constantly inundated and everybody's short-staffed. And then you have, especially in healthcare, a lot of things are time sensitive. So I don't have the time for it. I mean, I've never had a conversation about cybersecurity with anyone that does any job for anything where they said, oh yeah, I've got time for that.
Yeah. No. Nope.
No.
You do not.
No. They always say, I don't have time for it. I can't do that. I don't have time to do it that way. So we're already up against that in trying to secure what we've had in place for years. Well, over the last 2 years, I can tell you, here we are 2 years out, and I told everybody in a webinar series that we hosted, I want to say it was like May 2023. And I was telling them, get your hands around it now, because if you don't have it by the end of the year, 2023, if you don't have it by the end of the year, you're already going to be behind. And now here we are 2 years later, and most people still don't have it. And, we constantly worry about where's AI going into and what are we using it for. And there are times where we'll make decisions to use it, and then it's like, we didn't put enough parameters around that. We didn't do this. We didn't do that. And we go back and have to rethink how we're instructing it and what we're giving it and what we're allowing it to do. But it's a constant iteration because we're actually trying to do that. Imagine if you're not even paying attention to it at all, what it might be doing.
Yeah. It's going to run crazy because you can have an AI tool that doesn't do A, B, and C today. A year from now, it does, but you've not made any changes. You've not looked at your settings. You've not done anything. And they're going to constantly get smarter and better. And you've got to keep up with all that.
Oh, and then you've got all of those little agents we were talking about. And then people forget they wrote them. And,
yeah.
We already have the problem with the automation we could create before, where when something goes wrong in automation, somebody would notice something and they'd be like, how did that get that way? And everybody would be like, I don't know. And you have to go all the way back and remember, wait, we automated that 3 years ago. And
yeah, that's super easy to do. I actually had that happen to me, not on an AI agent, but on a workflow. It was earlier this week. I get an email. I think it was from Microsoft Automate. We've stopped this automation from happening because it's failed 20 times in a row. And I'm like, oh, I forgot I even set that up.
Thanks for letting me know.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't use that anymore anyway. So that's probably why it's failing. But yeah, it's very
But,
easy.
you know, when you don't even think of it.
No. And, for people, it's often hard to keep track of, especially when you're doing stuff like that all the time. It's hard to keep track of where you're doing things. And I see this more often with people with data, like where I ask, where's your data? Well, we think it's on the server. And then you start looking and be like, nope, there's no data on the server. Well, then I think maybe it's in Microsoft Office. Well, is it on each computer or is it in the cloud? I don't know. Is it in SharePoint? I don't know. It's like they know the data is there. They just don't know where there is. Mm-hmm. And the same thing with automations. Like we know the automation's happening. We just don't know what platform we put it in.
Yeah. So you've got to find those things today. And that's before it will write its own stuff and start doing things on its own. And then no one remembers that it was even out there in the first place. So now they're already calling it zombie agents.
Yeah.
And that's essentially that email compromise that you just talked about, where it's zombie. You don't even know it's there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's just mindless doing its thing. It's kind of like me on a Saturday morning.
Any given morning before coffee.
Yes. Yeah. I told somebody last week, I said, they were talking about what time I get up and start working. And I said, well, I get up at 6:30. I wake up at 10:30. Between then, I'm doing zombie work. It's just, I got to have my first pot of coffee. Then I'm ready to go.
A whole pot, people, a whole pot.
Yeah. I'm like an old car. It takes me a while to get me going, but once you do, I'm unstoppable.
I'm going to need to let that one just sit where it is. We'll just let that we're going to need to let that one go for many reasons. And those of you who've listened to us for a long time, you know why we can't talk about that, because too many things shot through my head. If we weren't recording, I would have said. So, but the bottom line and what we started this is AI is great until it's not. It's helpful until it's not. And if you don't recognize that the not part is going to happen, but you're just worried about the great part, you're setting yourself up for major trouble of some sort. Mm-hmm. You have to realize, and even us when we're using it, sometimes it's so easy to forget because it is so convenient. It is so fast. I mean, there's so many things that, and sometimes I say, I really don't need you to help me that much. Because you're being over helpful. Don't waste processing cycles. But there's so much that it can do. And once you start to understand that, you get excited. But you need to understand it's both sides of the coin. And if you're not trying to understand it and get it under control and to manage it, it's probably already managing you in some way. And if not now,
yeah,
definitely within the next 6 months. And I'm not talking, because, it's just like everything else we've said. If you don't manage it today, it's not going to be easier tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So at the very least, I would say, sit down, do an AI asset report. Just understand, where do you even have AI? I'm not even asking about risk right now. Where is it? Where is it being used? What platforms are being used? Just like you're doing like a software inventory report or a hardware, do an AI inventory report. Where is it? Mm-hmm. And then you can start asking questions about, well, what risk does this bring into our organization? And from there, you can switch over to, all right, if any of these things happen, now we're going to do a risk assessment. What's the likelihood? What's the impact? What are we doing to mitigate? What is our instant response plan? Because I feel like we're going to have a time where when the AI platform gets disrupted for whatever reason, it's going to be bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be real bad because there's going to be so integrated that functions and things that we absolutely need, because right now it's often on the periphery. Like I don't necessarily need it to check my email. It's just nice. But at some point it's going to go down and it's going to be like, now I can't function because of it. So start thinking about those things.
Yeah. It'll be bad if the AI is doing things for you. It goes down and you didn't even know it was the AI doing it. So you don't even know what's gone down. That's bad.
Yeah. So as Donna said, in closing, it is about understanding it early and make the risk decisions before it manages you, before it becomes a bigger problem. So there you go. Something else to worry about this weekend and some homework to do on top of it. What more could you want? All right. Well, that's it for today, folks. Yeah, join us again next time. I'm sure we'll have more wonderful AI news to talk about and the scary things that come to us from cybersecurity world. Until then, remember for Donna and myself that HIPAA is not about compliance or AI or worrying about all this other stuff, but it is about patient care. And you should keep that top of mind. So, see you next time.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.